Welcome back to another episode of Shred and Soul.
I'm Shred, a.k.a. Kevin Wood.
And I'm Soul, a.k.a. Wind Hughes.
Well, today we're going to give you another Malfunction flashback.
Yay.
And, we've got something special in store for that. But we have another special announcement to make. It's our actual wedding anniversary today.
It is, and we're
June
going to
27th.
talk about that, June 27th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to toast some champagne.
Talk about our vows, but I want to, what is it you have for the Malfunction flashback?
Well, I was rummaging around in my box of artifacts, and I found these interesting photos. This is, I don't know, you can't see that. This was published in The Rocket, I think, back in 1983 or something, or 86. Anyway, on the back, handwritten "Winter Bites" by Andy. He credits A. Wood, K. Wood, R. Hagar on that, and R. Hagar did help with the breakdown. So anyway, I just thought it was kind of poignant that we featured this in one of our earlier episodes, and here it is again.
The original with the star signature in it. Oh no, this one doesn't have it.
This is. Probably not the only one that exists, because this was a great song, and I've seen a few different copies of it, but this is an original penned by the master himself.
Maybe we can show a picture of that so you can actually look at it.
Mm-hmm. And but we wanted to spotlight another song, another Malfunction song that was part of our repertoire in the 80s, and I guess I never went beyond that, but
it's one of my favorites.
I did redo that song in the later incarnations of Malfunction. We have a video performance of us doing Love Child, which is the song we're going to talk about, and in this version it was performed at the Flights Club up in Everett in 2016, and we had Bradley Leach on the drums, Frank Sekema on the bass, Jeff Stark on the vocals. And the song is just so powerful and so fun to play. And actually, I wrote the music to this song. And Andy wrote the lyrics, and we arranged it. We actually played this song for the very first time in public at the Deep Six record release party. Soundgarden played after us, Green River played before us. We played our set, which included this, and I really love this song, and like so many of Andy's lyrics, it can be interpreted any number of ways, but knowing him as my brother and understanding where he's coming from, having been brought up in the same environment and having very similar interests, although quite different personalities. As brothers go, that always happens. But you're from the same spawn, let's say. So it gives the lyrics more poignancy when you actually consider them and what they might have meant during the time they were written, and even beyond. Shall we go over these lyrics?
Yeah, why don't we read them, and then we can show a picture of them and talk about them?
Okay, this is Love Child. I want to read the lyrics to Love Child, penned by Andy in 1983. Will you come before the summer? Will you leave us behind? Will you take with you the dreams of my life? Morning leaves us a question. People will always let you down. Don't put your money on a horse that you don't know. The love child, he searches. The love child, he lives today. The love child, he's desperate. The love child, he won't let you down. The boy leads us to reason. The boy, he knows what's right. The boy, clear of prejudice and hate. The dream of love is dying slowly, just like the day the sky turned red. Maybe someday we will be there again. Until then, the love child, he searches. The love child, he lives today. The love child, he's desperate. The love child won't let you down.
Wow. I know it's emotional for you to read.
Yeah, it is, but it's genius.
Yeah. When we were reading this last night, and just talking about what does this mean? Like, what is he actually saying here? And looking at the time, and we actually were going through the box of memorabilia and some of Andy's things, as we do when we're looking for things to share or just want to review and look for lyrics. And in his rehab notes that Kevin has the copy of, some poignant discussion of his life and his family and his meaning. But one of the things he said, which this song speaks to me, is that he was a flower child in the 90s, that he related to the peace and the love of the 60s. And to me, the love child is that part of him that's in his soul that he's desperately trying to hang on to because he could feel it slipping away. And he's wondering, when will it come back? And people, things always let you down. But the love child, he searches. The love child, is here. And he's desperate to find that part of him and hang on to that part of him. That's how I feel about it, especially after reading. It's sort of an honor to read his rehab notes, his most intimate thoughts.
And so much of what he wrote about in Malfunction was about love, and that's what he really wanted to bring to the table. It was an openness. It was the love child within him, I think, that propelled him through that era. He was definitely a very sensitive and loving person underneath all of the bravado and the showmanship. I think that part of him is kind of missed.
And we talked about this last night. You said he was very sensitive, and when I read his lyrics and I read some of the stuff he wrote, his senses were keen. His emotional sensing was keen. And I know he felt he had a lot of struggles when he was younger and trying to make sense of things. He was very sensitive, and I don't take that in a way that he was overly sensitive or dramatic. I take that in a way that he had very highly developed emotional intelligence, emotional sensing, and was able to articulate that masterfully in his lyrics, his poetry.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think you're dead on with that. And his ability to be caring and open was something that was noticeable. I remember a particular time when we had an argument, and I think it was a pretty heated argument, and it was a lot of me yelling at him, and then during the middle of the night, I had fallen asleep in the living room on a chair. I don't know. I had been blaming him for something, and he came and covered me with a blanket.
How sweet and nurturing and tender. I think that's that tender side of him. Yeah.
I mean, he obviously had that in him in a large degree. I remember he was so quick to tears, and
it's teary when you talk about it. And I think that's one of the things going through his things, and when we talk, is that people, understandably so, think of Andy as the singer, Malfunction singer, the Love Bone singer. He was the celebrity, and to all of you, he was your brother, you know, your mother's son. He was a human being, and looking through his things and having his, you know, handwritten lyrics. I mean, this was his life. This was his expression intimately. He was a performer on stage, but this was his process.
Yeah.
His very
exactly.
intimate process of his life.
I don't know if we've fully explored the whole potential of the song or not. I recorded it with Sean Smith. I did it on the road with Jeff Loftus, and I did it on the road with Jeff Stark, and, you know, various other guys that joined me. And I particularly love the song, and it's just a great addition to the set. So I wrote the lyrics. I mean, I wrote the music, but Andy wrote the lyrics, and it's just a great team effort.
Everybody, let's bring it up here. Let's get this show started.
So that was a lot of fun. That was the Flights Club in Everett, and
Everett, Washington.
Yeah, that was a good time. You might as well you call it a Seattle gig, but those guys really did a great job putting that together, and it was a real fun time.
Yeah. That song, which is such a tender and emotional song, is one of the songs where people in the audience do the most hair-flipping, head-banging.
Yeah.
Because of that bum, 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 bum. Yeah, and people are just flipping there. It's so much fun, because I'm definitely a hair person, and people really enjoy the feeling of that song, and the music you wrote is really wonderful, and with the lyrics. It's a masterpiece.
Yeah, thanks. It was a lot of fun, and I look forward to doing that again sometime. It's kind of an itch that needs to be scratched, I think.
Yeah.
Do another gig.
Well, speaking of itches that need to be scratched, do you know that old saying, the 7-year itch, when you're married?
I think we're on our 15th,
we're on our way to the
16th.
third. We've been through the first and the second. Now we're heading towards the third.
Yeah, it's our anniversary.
Yeah, so here.
Yeah.
We invite you to celebrate with us. 16 years soul married and 15 years with a piece of paper. Here's happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Another. What an accomplishment. I say that because it is for any two people to live together and sometimes work together and have family together and just enjoy each other. I think we truly enjoy our time together and have our moments. And we definitely have our moments where we drive each other crazy.
Absolutely
and
crazy.
Have to take a really deep breath.
But by now, I think those deep breaths don't have to be as deep and as long.
No. But there's an occasional one,
Well, I
after
suppose.
all these years. And I think marriage is one of those life processes in that it's a process that the hardest thing, I think, for most couples, and I work with a lot of couples, is that we marry someone 16 years ago, and we expect that person to be the same. And I think this is a part that's really difficult, and people aren't necessarily aware of it or can articulate it. We expect that person to be the same. You are in no way the same person I married 16 years ago. Parts of you are the same, but you're a different man than you were then. And it's better.
Yeah.
You've evolved and grown, and it's better. And there are dreams and things that we've had that we didn't manifest, and then there are other
things
dreams that we
just
sure as hell did.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
did good job. But marriage is a process. It's not something that remains the same, and two people don't remain the same.
It's
And
a growing thing.
Yeah.
Growing. I think it's like having kids too. It's something that puts you in a situation where you have to be less self-absorbed, and the less self-absorbed you are, the better things go for everybody. And to have a level of understanding, I think pulling back and, like you said, taking a breath, after a while that practice becomes just ingrained in, well, it has in me, where I just go, I don't even need to take a breath.
that's just wind. That's just wind. It's never going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just
Totally.
Kevin. It's never going to change. So maybe we could talk about our wedding day and what preceded it. I don't know what we were thinking other than saving money on airfare and let's just get it all done while we're in Seattle.
Well, I used to get gigs up in Seattle, and it paid for my trip to come home and visit my kids and my mom, and
Get married.
we got married up there. We met on Bainbridge Island, so it was fitting that we got married on Bainbridge Island. And your friends Kiki and
Kiki and her family hosted us on their property.
down on off of
Eagle Harbor,
Drive.
right?
Yeah,
Beautiful property.
spot. And
Maybe this would be a good time to show the picture, because you can
Yeah.
see us walking away, having just had our beautiful ceremony with our closest friends and family.
yeah,
and
Show the picture.
coming away.
Show the picture. Yeah, so we had some pretty cool outfits on.
Yeah.
And I remember I still have that frock coat. I had it kind of custom made from a tailor.
Yeah. What about those shiny pants? Do you still have those?
No, I don't think I have those.
Would you even wear them now?
Oh yeah, if the occasion was right.
You think?
Yeah.
You looked really good.
They were vinyl pants. I think they might have blown them out after the wedding, though. You know, they were pretty cheap. But so we had this grand wedding on the green.
No, wait. Let's tell them before first.
Oh well,
leading up to
before.
it, it's what we did, which was insane.
Yeah. We put on a show downtown Seattle, a Malfunction show, and it was part a viewing of the documentary that Scott Barber put together.
Malfunction, the Andrew Wood story.
Yeah, Malfunction, the Andrew
just
Wood
come
story.
out.
Yeah, and so we were going to show that, and then we were going to play, and my other band, All Hail the Crown, was going to play as well. But we had a Malfunction set.
Mm-hmm. This was at the Hard Rock Cafe in downtown Seattle.
Yeah. I know there was pushback on that venue, too. I remember some of the guys in the band didn't want to play the Hard Rock.
Because it was corporate.
Yeah.
They felt it was a sellout. It was back in the day when there was a lot of to-do about bands selling out corporately, which today is just what there is, right? Everyone, it's controlled. But back then, and they were upset at the Hard Rock.
Yeah.
It was a fun venue to do it at, though.
It was. It was fun. It was a good stage, and at any rate, I mean, we did have our foibles. You got a spiked drink.
Oh my goodness, yeah. So we had the 25th was the previewing of the documentary, Malfunction, the Andrew Wood story, and then followed by the show. Mm-hmm. So it was a very long night.
Yeah.
And the next day was set up for the wedding, and then the next day was getting married. So it was a whirlwind. And that night after the show, there was a lot of to-do because it was Seattle, so a lot of local people there and some press and a lot of people. I was managing things at that time and a lot of people to take care of. And you had a lot of people wanting a piece of you. And but that night, I didn't want anything to drink till it was closer to the end of the show because there was a lot to do. And towards the end of the show, I went over to the bar and I said to the guy, "I'd like a Mai Tai, please." And he said, "I'm not going to give you a Mai Tai. I'm going to give you something better." And I said, "Oh, thanks, but no, I really want a Mai Tai." And he said, "No, I'm going to give you something you're going to like better." And we kind of argued a bit, and I got my drink, and as the evening was coming to a close and we were packing up, I was drugged. I was so woozy, I could barely stand. I was nauseous. I'd been drugged once before in a pub in Taos, New Mexico. And so I knew the feeling.
Not just a good Mai Tai feeling.
It was not a good Mai Tai. It was take advantage of this woman. And the bartender, miraculously, or mystery of him leaving. So I don't know if he went off or was waiting downstairs. He didn't know I was your wife. And it was just really scary, and I felt terrible. And so we closed down the night and headed home across the Puget Sound on the boat and went to Bainbridge. And the next day, we were in a hotel in Seattle. I could barely get up. If you remember, we had to check out.
Yeah.
And I still couldn't stand.
Yeah, she was in worse shape than me.
I was in worse shape than you. And I just wanted one Mai Tai.
My son got thrown out of the venue before we could even play because my mom gave him a beer.
A beer, and he wasn't 21, and
He was not happy.
No, so he got thrown out. And so that night was crazy,
awkward.
fun.
Yeah,
the next day was hard for me.
Yeah, but then we got it together, and
well, what did we get together?
The next day,
we rented chairs.
Brought chairs. We started putting the venue together. We put up a little, spread.
Had a gazebo. We got married.
I had made all these tamales
in Taos, New Mexico.
The tamales we made in New Mexico. And we sent them to Bainbridge Island on dry ice. And then had to steam all those and get those ready with some various condiments, and then we had to go buy supplies for the wedding.
Yes.
We had to buy all of the
Vegetables
accoutrements,
and things.
all the
and
booze.
everything.
and-
We were
yeah.
exhausted, and I was still coming down from being drugged.
That was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
We had, could you imagine doing that today?
I wouldn't do it that way.
No.
No,
No,
it
we
would
would
do it
probably
differently.
Hire somebody.
You'd hire
to-
someone.
Or have it
But we were on a
delivered.
budget because all our money went to coming and doing the show.
That's right.
And
We were on a budget. We were renting a tiny little Toyota,
Some
smallest
crappy little
one
car.
they made. And it was literally packed, completely
Yeah,
up to the
chairs and-
tops of the windows with the supplies that we were buying and bringing to the wedding
Yeah.
venue.
And if you see our hair moving, it's because it got so hot we put a fan on. I hope the sound doesn't bother you.
It was
Yes.
quite the deal.
It was quite the deal. And then the next day was our wedding. We'd been at a hotel and had friends from out of town and family from out of town. And it was just a beautiful day of friends and family. And we designed, of course, our wedding ceremony. And I do weddings. I'm an officiant at weddings. And my dear friend Lori, who married us, is as well. And so we wrote our own vows to each other, and then we had vows that we were both going to say. And we took it very seriously as a ritual of speaking words of power that would become the energetic blueprint and the creative force behind our relationship. So we took them very, very seriously, and they're very challenging. And we periodically pick them up. We haven't in a while. We've just gotten so good at it, right?
Yeah. Well, they're posted in a pretty prominent spot.
They're in our
where
bedroom
you
on the
see them.
wall, in our beautiful frame under our chalice from our wedding, and our beautiful scarf that we hand fasted in Celtic tradition.
Maybe we ought to put a picture of our chalice.
We did, not the chalice, but our hand fasting. Actually, go to the previous episode where we shared our music and journey.
Episode, we
For
can
this one,
take
you want a picture of the chalice?
Yeah,
Okay.
We'll add a picture of the chalice.
Okay, and we'll do a, I don't know if this would fit. We might be able to fit this in a photo and get it up there. But let's read them.
Yeah, okay.
Do you want to alternate reading them, or do you want to read the first few and I'll read the second half?
I'll read until I,
Read till
Well-
about down to here?
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll split it up.
But I need another sip of champagne for this, because these
Yeah.
are powerful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. I promise to be your highest good coach and support all that you have determined will serve your highest good.
Yes.
Yes. I promise to cultivate ultimate communication and to speak what is true and genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I promise to speak and listen with an open heart. I promise that in fear my heart begins to close. Let me start over now. I promise that if in fear my heart begins to close, I will do whatever is necessary to keep it open. I commit to your intimacy, to the tantric path of sacred union of the masculine and feminine. I made sure that was in there.
Did you? I don't remember you insisting
Yeah, I had
that
it
was in
worded
there.
differently. And you said, okay, it could mean this.
I think you may have had it something like, I commit to making sure I get laid a lot.
Yeah, something
And
like
I
that.
maybe made it the tantric.
Yeah, I
we're
think that's
joking.
probably what happened. I'm dedicated to our relationship as a spiritual path of tapas and will remain committed even when the fire of relationship begins to burn and leaves me standing before you naked to the soul. Now let's take that apart a little bit because
Well,
people
maybe let's
might
go
not know
through
what
these few things.
tapas means.
Tapas is a Hindu term, and one of the things is, it's purification through fire. And Rumi talks a lot about that too. And how he has one of his poems where to avoid the fire, you jump in the water, but then you come out in the fire, and that what seems safe isn't, and the fire that burns us is how we awaken and evolve. And in Hindu traditions, there's a burning that happens with tapas, and relationship is that way. It burns away our ego. It burns away the sense of self and who we imagine we are. And through that mutual burning, it brings us naked to our soul, and then we stand before each other, kind of on our knees, humbled and naked, having burned away all of that ego and what stood between us.
See, that's the key, because if you do that, then you can be at that point. But if you spend your whole time together, like keeping score and holding resentments, then the opposite happens.
Well, you have to have a willingness to be naked, and I think that, the tapas is something that happens in relationship. There isn't any relationship where there isn't tapas naturally occurring. It's whether we want to embrace that as something that's part of our work together as a couple, or we resist that and do everything to avoid it.
I promise to cultivate the act of forgiveness. I promise to live in gratitude for you and the part of you that I play in this dance of universal creation.
How about I take it over now?
Yeah.
I promise to live in gratitude for you and your part that you and I play in the dance of universal creation. I promise to live in the awareness of abundance and recognize and express it as truth. I promise to remain in integrity and cultivate the ability to speak without judgment when speaking of difficult things and diverging viewpoints. I commit to being a fun partner and living in joy. I promise to support you in the work and play that serves your soul. I promise to stay healthy and vibrant. I support your relationship with those you love. I will be a trustworthy best friend and lover. I acknowledge you as a most profound teacher. I will honor these vows every day of my life. Any promises that we have spoken that we have forgotten to include here, I promise to honor for the good of all and according to free will. So be it.
So be it.
That's a pretty challenging path to live. I'd like to go and point out a few I find most challenging, and then maybe you would.
Yeah, okay. Let's go.
Okay. I think one of the most challenging is this year. I promise to speak and listen with an open heart. I think I do that very well, but it's the second part I find very challenging, is I promise that if in fear my heart begins to close, I will do whatever is necessary to keep it open. And I find that our knee-jerk reaction to anything that's threatening is to get very protective. So I know for me, that's one that I'm always working on, is when I'm angry at you, I'm disappointed with something you've done or not done, I'm projecting a lot of stuff onto you. All of these things happen, and the knee-jerk reaction is for the heart to close and be protected. And I know for me, it's a challenge and a daily work to allow my heart to remain open and remain vulnerable to you. And I think that's part of the tapas. It burns away our sense of defense, protection, and we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and naked.
Exactly, and allowing yourself is the key component to a healthy experience.
Yeah, it's challenging.
An experience at the end of it will be healthy.
Yeah. Let's see. Speaking without judgment, not being in judgment. That's a hard one, too. I mean, it's not hard, but it's a challenging one, because when you do something that's upsetting to me, the knee-jerk reaction is to judge you.
So that's where all that comes from.
That's where it all comes from. You do something and I think, oh, he doesn't give a shit about me. Or I'd have to make something up because it doesn't happen very often. I make a judgment about you. You're just oblivious. You're just focused on your guitar. I make a judgment when I'm upset. And that's, I think, for me, the same as keeping the heart open, is to recognize the judgments, because I do make them. I think it's human to react that way when someone does something and we decide whether it's good or bad, we like it or not, whether it was healthy or not. And I'm sure you do the same for me.
No, never.
Seriously.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how
I
do you
mean, it's
navigate that? Do you have to navigate that?
Yeah. It's a gradual. Sometimes it's not gradual. Sometimes it's like cut and dry, you know. But when you look at life in retrospective, realize that, okay, I used to hold this for this long, you know, like one of those ununderstanding moments of non-communication and friction. I would hold this for, you know, years ago I would do this. Now 5 years ago I was doing that. Now I'm doing it about this much. And so, like, when we talk about tapas and that grinding away and that pulling back, I think it's doing exactly that. Over time, you learn how to say, that's not me. That's not really affecting me. What? And then when you take it to the next step and say, what is inside of me that is causing that? And where did that come from? You don't have to like go through therapy and go, oh my God, this is this and this is that. You can just acknowledge it to a point where you can say, there it is again.
Yeah.
Let's stop and pause and say.
Stop and pause, rewind.
Yeah.
I need 5 minutes, I'm walking away. When a lot of it's an internal process.
Yeah. It's all internal for me. It's just in how you're able to put it all together in your own self-awareness.
One of the things I wanted to talk about, the first one, I have a program called, well, it's how I approach working with people, the Highest Good program. And the highest good meaning that we establish what we want to create in our lives, manifest in our lives internally and externally, and we decide what will serve our soul, what will serve our highest good. And then we delineate that, how it feels, and we decide as we come to cross points which one of these decisions or choices will serve our highest good. And if it doesn't, we don't do it. And if it does, we do, when possible. And the first one, I promise to be your highest good coach and support all that you have determined will serve your highest good. And I think we do that really well. What I know in most couples, there's a point where the partner doesn't feel that choice is in your highest good. So say you want to do something, and I'm thinking, no, that's not in your highest good. I don't think that's in your highest good. So I want you to do what I am pretending to be this person in the couple, because I think we do this pretty well. But one person in the couple has a judgment about what their partner thinks is in their highest good or what their partner wants. And when you're a highest good coach, you make an agreement. You hear without judgment. Or if you have judgment, you work on it in here. What your partner feels will serve their joy, their happiness, their highest good spiritually, emotionally, on every level. And they determine what that is, not you. And then you as the highest good coach make an agreement to support that. And when you see your partner veering away from that, you gently and lovingly say, hey, you know, I'm aware that you made this intention and I see you doing X. That's it. No judgment, no anger, nothing. Just pointing out to that person in a supportive way, I see you doing that.
Actually, that's probably one of the most challenging ones.
For you?
Well, it sounds like for both of us, because we both have our ideals. We both have our own separate values. I mean, we're separate people. We come from different backgrounds, and we have different likes, different tastes. I mean, on the outside, there's a difference, you know. And so when you try to get to that highest realm, the challenge is just like peeling it back to the core understanding of the motivation for that highest good quest. You say, okay, well, it's got to be buried in there somewhere. I think taking some time to understand that, yeah, okay, there might be some higher good located in that activity or that taste somewhere, and just be open to it and not try to squash it or try to demean it in any way.
Yeah. So there you are. These were our mutual vows and what we work on for the last 16 years, 15 years.
Yeah. Well, we were together for a year before we got married. So.
Yeah.
starting to click off those years.
I know. The older years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, do you have anything in there to toast again?
I have a little bit in the bottom.
Okay, here's to
Oh, hey.
many more.
To many more.
Well, thank you for joining us this entire episode and being here on our anniversary, which you'll see this on Tuesday, which will be a few days later. We'll have gone away and had some fun by then.
And enjoy The Love Child.
Yeah.
That's also on the Monument CD. The
Yeah.
Monument, Kevin Wooden from the North. MALFUNKSHUN Monument. So look that up on Spotify if you want to hear it. I mean, probably the only version that MALFUNKSHUN certainly did not record that version correctly. I mean, we have some live recordings of it, but Sean Smith is on the Monument version.
Yeah, it's a beautiful version.
It's great. Yeah.
Here's to Sean. May
To Sean.
he be remembered, having
to all
passed.
the guys who helped out over the years in MALFUNKSHUN, and of course to the master, my brother Andy, and his ongoing. You know, every time I delve into his story and how deep that was, there's always a new nugget to explore, and how it was such a gift to have him with us.
Yeah.
For the short time he was here.
And do you have any Hollywood scriptwriters out there? Boy, going through this stuff, there's just gems that would make an incredible script. And we've wanted to do this for so long. Let us know.
Okay.
Otherwise,
See you
till next time. Bye.
Bye.